I finally played Baldur's Gate 3. Hello everyone, my name is Barry, and yes, I finally did it. I played the so-called best RPG of all time, and throughout this journey of saving the world, kicking a squirrel, and becoming a skeleton, I realized I have no idea what I'm doing. But hey, that's the magic of Baldur's Gate 3. So join me as I stumble, flirt, and occasionally commit war crimes across Faerun. So before our journey begins, we have to make the most infamous hero or villain of the story. Behold, Drandy Dragon Man, a proud dragonborn who dreams of being a bard, traveling the world, singing songs, spreading joy, and maybe seducing a devil or two. Except there's just one tiny problem. He's got urges, dark urges. Yeah, I played as the Dark Urge, whose entire existence is basically one intrusive thought away from becoming a war crime. And throughout this journey, Drandy would change forever. He'd face temptation, heartbreak, and one truly horrific incident that completely changes him. But that's spoilers. For now, let's just start at the beginning. Our story begins on a big squid ship, because nothing says epic adventure quite like waking up inside a flying seafood dish. First thing I see, a mind flare shoving a brainworm into my eye. You know, just normal fantasy RPG stuff. First thing we do is break out of our pod, completely traumatized, but pretending everything's fine, and immediately start looting everything that isn't bolted down. And then I meet my first ally, a talking brain with spider legs called Us. So, like a normal person, I make it my companion. Next, I meet lae'zel, a Githyanki warrior who introduces herself by threatening to kill me. What a great start to any good friendship. And she's also a massive racist. And then there's Shadowheart, a mysterious hottie inside a pod who somehow convinces me she's the normal one. So a bloodlust bard, a sexy elf, a racist, and a brain team up and try to take control of the ship. And I may have forgotten to tell you that we're also in hell. So now we have to deal with imps and demons with flaming swords. So with my new murder buddies, we fight a bunch of demon things, team up with a squid, and try my best not to explode the ship in the process. And like many moments throughout this adventure, I fail, but somehow we survive, and thus we continue the journey of Drandy Dragon Man, because I have a feeling that's how he sounds. So after surviving a high-speed seafood explosion, I wake up on a beach, dazed, confused, and somehow still rocking perfect scales. First thing I find is Shadowheart with a weird artifact. Now free, slightly grumpy, and judging me with every word. She says she's a priest of Shah. I nod, pretend I know what she means, and immediately try to flirt with her. Anyway, we keep moving, and that's when we meet Astarion, the vampire spawn with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, and also apparently my throat. He tries to kill me, I threaten to kill him, and suddenly we're best friends. Now with my growing party of emotionally unstable weirdos, I'm feeling pretty good, until I see a hand coming out of a portal. Now this seems totally normal.
A hand?
Sounds charming until he asked me to grab his hand, and Dark Urge me didn't quite interpret that the way we hoped. Look, in my defense, it was glowing suspiciously, and now we have a cool wizard hand. Then finally, we run into lae'zel again. This time, she's the one in the cage. Karma's a beautiful thing, but I decided to help her in the most Drandy Dragon Man way possible by killing her captors. After a couple dead tieflings later, she's free, and once again, threatening my life. I'm starting to think that's just her love language. And just like that, the gang's all here. A cleric with secrets, a vampire with daddy issues, a wizard's hand, and a gift who wants to kill me or fuck me. I'm not too sure on that. And our first real test, bandits. By the time it was all over, we looked less like heroes and more like a traveling war crime. Then we explored the ruins nearby. We find a tomb and full of skeletons that really don't appreciate visitors. We fight our way through waves of undead, and somehow we actually survive. Go team. And then we find him, a dead guy named Withers.
Now, I have a question for thee. What is the worth of a single mortal's life?
After a deeply uncomfortable therapy session, he decides to join my camp. So after a long day of grave robbing, we decide to head deeper into the wilderness. And that's when we stumble onto the Emerald Grove.
Oh no! I would say that's a canon event.
Now, when I heard this place was called the Emerald Grove, I expected peaceful elven Disneyland, not goblins, arrows flying, and people sprinting to their own deaths. So, like any normal reaction, we jump into the fight because, well, Drandy is easily provoked. Long story short, the tieflings cheer, the goblin horde dies, we see a potential new companion, and I walk in feeling like a hero for about 3 seconds. Because turns out the druids hate the tieflings here. Like, really hate them. But then I meet Damon, a blacksmith so genuinely helpful. So we get some gear and he tells us about a rare metal that he could use to make some nice armor with. Next up is Auntie Ethel, a sweet harmless old little lady offering free medical help. So we tell her about our symptoms, threaten to throw her into some boiling soup. She then tries to hit on us and then we move on. Then I meet Will, the Blade of Frontiers, and my new body bag for the group. Then there's Volo, the most chaotic bard in Faerun, and zero actual usefulness. But then we meet Alfira. She sings this beautiful, emotional song and instantly makes us feel like our entire bard career is a lie. We also quickly help them out with their harpy infestation and get some loot out of it. So Drandy decides to go and have a look around, and we come across a squirrel.
Claim victory over the squirrel, though you're not sure why you were fighting to begin with.
Look, in my defense, it looks suspicious. And then we meet Karga, the acting leader of the Grove, or as I like to call her, Supreme Leader Racist. Seriously, this woman hates tieflings so much, she practically hisses at them. So we dig around and learn that the real druid leader, Hausen, has been kidnapped by the goblins. So naturally, we accept the quest, not because it's the right thing to do, but because Drandy Dragon Man is always down for mass slaughter. So we set out once again, headed towards the goblin camp. On the way, we meet some strangers with weird glowing brands. They talk about destiny, power, true purpose. So we kill them, but then we meet him, Scratch, dog, hero, master of fetch, and the most important party member of this game. As we continue our adventure, that's when I see her, Karlach, Drandy's queen, his flame-powered, demon-slaying sweetheart of destruction. So, like every character I hit on in this game, ask her to join our merry band of murderers and spend the afternoon slaughtering paladins, hunting her down. We then move along and come across a giant cave. And like every adventurer, I want to go inside and find the sweet, sweet loot, only to find out it's the home of a very angry owlbear and her little cub.
Cub looks
there we go.
from you to his dead mother.
Wow. Look, I didn't want to do it, but I will find a way to make that cute baby owlbear mine. And it also starts eating its own mother right after we killed her. Strange family. So we escape that and come across a ruined village now filled with goblins. So Drandy, using his very impressive skills, gets past the guards and is welcomed into what is left of this once bustling town. We then come across some ogres arguing and have a pleasant conversation with them.
Tastes like fish. Gentlemen, contain yourselves. This quarrel sours our feast. Besides, tastes like pork.
Turns out one of them is pretty smart, so instead of them eating us, Drandy convinces them to join us in our time of need, and they can eat as much as they want, because trust me, we are definitely going to need their help soon. So while exploring around, we find a mysterious underground cellar that leads us to a mirror with a face on it. It asked us a few riddles, good thing Drandy knows his history, until we fucked up on the second riddle.
You will be purged.
What? That's not running. Eventually getting through the mirror on the wall, we find another secret room. And with that secret room came so much more loot. So we made out like thieves and stole everything of value. On our way out, a booby-trapped door caught our attention. We find the Necromancy of Thay, an ancient book hidden with unknown knowledge and apparently sent one groovy guy back in time. Drandy tried reading it, but he never paid attention in necromancy class, so he threw it away. But I'm sure, like every cursed object, this thing will forever follow us. Continuing our journey towards the goblin camp, we come across a herd of gnolls, weird hyena human hybrid things attacking some poor merchants. So instead of helping the merchants, we team up with the gnolls. They kill the merchants, but we want all that loot they were holding. So like all good truces, they all end in bloody violence. So once we rummaged around getting all the loot we could carry, we came across a locked chest that the merchants were trying to protect. So using our superior lockpicking skills, we managed to get it on the second try and found a very interesting iron flask. Nearby the cave was Walking's Rest, and already Drandy pisses off the locals with just one sentence.
The arrow had pierced your heart instead.
So we try to get back into their good graces by heading straight into a burning building and definitely not doing it to save all the precious loot from burning. So after faking trying to help a guy from burning to death, oh no, I can't lift it, we managed to make it out alive. Turns out some drow have taken Duke Ravengard, the guy in charge of all these people, and spoiler, is also Will's dad, but it's kinda one of those I disowned you type of relationships. Anyway, we get some cool loot out of all this. We then spent some downtime and went through all the loot we have collected thus far, and then I come across a scroll to summon a creature.
And you, slab of beef with nipples? Moo.
So I don't know exactly what a shovel is, but I like their style and will come in handy for sneaky situations, especially when we're headed into the goblin camp. As we enter the goblin camp, we all start to get a massive headache and hear a voice inside our heads telling us to follow the authority.
And you will respect my authority.
Thankfully, Shadowheart comes in clutch with her artifact that basically is a cure-all of headaches, and we continue on our way. As we enter the camp, we find Volo, the world's worst bard. Unfortunately, we kind of step in and just make the entire situation worse.
Come on, pigeon. Back to your cage.
Now look what you've done.
It turns out that Owlbear has also been caught by the goblins, but we'll try and get him later because we head on inside. As we make our way inside, we are greeted by the True Soul Gut, a weird princess goblin lady that's responsible for branding everyone. So we talk and Drandy decides to sign up. After we get branded and become part of the Absolute, she invites us to her bedroom. Yeah, seems kind of sus, but we agree. She then probes us mind and sees all, so she gives us a potion of sleep, and like any sane person, I drink it and end up in her own private dungeon. But you know how cultists are, nothing gets through their beliefs like a good old blade to the throat. Out of nowhere, a lady portals in and saves us. She says her master has been watching us and wants to meet. So after all that, we regroup and the first thing on the list is free Volo. So I convince the goblins I need a slave. So win-win for everyone. So there is a drow commander called Menthara, and if you manage to knock her out and kill everyone else, you can then help her out in Act 2 and she becomes an OP companion. So I thought the more people the better, right? So about 30 minutes later, and maybe a couple of save scums, we managed to knock her out and steal her loot. So after this fight and everyone feeling tired, we decide to have a short rest and set up camp. Anyway, we all head off to bed and are met by a stranger in our dreams.
And I'm here to save you again.
A short goth halfling lady turns out to be the reason we are still alive and haven't turned into a calamari just yet. So she basically tells us to trust her and she'll help with things. We then get kicked out of our dream and are greeted by Volo with an idea on how to get this irritating tadpole out of our heads.
Tap, tap, stab.
So that didn't go quite according to plan, but now we have a fake eye and can see invisible enemies. Still doesn't solve my brain-eating maggot problem, but we can't think about that right now. We need to find house and kill all the goblins while trying not to die. So we sneak through the goblin horde and planted a whole bunch of explosive barrels to kill their other leader trying to resurrect a mind flare. We then headed deeper into the dungeon and found a bear. Turns out that's Halson. We help him escape, murder some goblin children and everyone else. We then headed outside and started causing mass genocide with the ogres, and thankfully for us, everyone died except the owlbear. And I may have broken how you get him as a companion, but hopefully he'll join us again later in our journey. But we did it. Drandy Dragon Man and his band of merry women have saved the day. But on our way out, we ran into someone very interesting.
The mouse smiled brightly. It outfoxed the cat. Then down came the claw. And that, love, was that.
So basically, this guy is the devil. So he teleports us to his house, tries to impress us with his sexy words and tease us, and also apparently has a way to fix our little tadpole problem. But I think we already have way too many people in our heads right now. We say no and get kicked out. So we did it. We saved the tieflings from getting slaughtered, solved racism, and Drandy Dragon Man is slowly overcoming his dark urges. And we even got to spend the night with Shadowheart. Even though Karlak will always be his queen, but Drandy is a man of the people. cool. So we partied long into the night before the tieflings headed out to Baldur's Gate, and we would soon to follow once we wrapped up a few things here. After waking up with a crippling headache from our pet brainworm, we set out to cause more chaos. We start the day with sending Shovel down a spider's nest to grab a jewel we need for the Necrocomicon so Drandy can have a zombie companion. Then we head back into the swamp again to find sweet old Auntie Ethel, and turns out she's a hideous old hag, and she's keeping this pregnant lady hostage so she can eat her baby. I'm not really sure and wasn't really paying attention, but quickly things get out of control where it turns out she's been keeping other people hostage with groovy face masks. So to fit in with the crowd, Drandy tries one too. We try to help the others being mind controlled, but the masks doesn't work, so plan B it is. Heading deeper into the cave, we come across some traps, and not just one Auntie Ethel, but multiple. Turns out to make the fight even more frustrating, she can duplicate herself, and she also sets fire to the pregnant lady's cage. So we decide to use our own traps against her and lure her to where we had the high ground. So after launching arrows and getting hit by her long-range spells, we managed to turn her into one of our own zombies, and we definitely won't see her again. So we managed to save the lady, even though she was an absolute bitch about it, because it turns out the reason she was here was to make a deal with Ethel to get her dead husband back. So I ended up doing that, and he became another member of whatever this ragtag team is. So after all that, we decided to make camp for the night, but like always, Drandy wasn't getting his beauty sleep tonight. Turns out Mazora is the reason Will has all his fancy powers and made a contract with her to kill Karlach, but since Drandy Dragon Man won't let his hot and spicy dummy mummy get killed, Will gets turned into a hideous devil with goat horns. The next day, we spent majority of the morning leveling everyone up and ready for the fight ahead, because our main goal is to head to Baldur's Gate to hopefully find someone to remove this irritating brainworm. On our way through, we come over a group of Githyanki, and turns out they're all racist towards everyone besides their own kind, and have control over dragons. So since they have a dragon that would kill our entire party with one bite, we try to sneak around them, and that didn't go quite as planned.
What easy prey you make, walking right within my blade's embrace.
But thankfully, we rolled a nat 20 and managed to convince them that we're no threat and should let us pass. So we head through the mountain pass and make camp for the night. Out of nowhere, like all thieving street bards, Alfira from the Grove rocks up begging to be part of the team. And I'm like, sure, nothing bad will ever happen to you while Drandy is around.
You open your eyes with a
Oh, what's this?
and you are not in your bed.
No, we are not. Oh
Stand
shit.
above.
So yeah, you know how I said at the beginning of this video that I made Drandy the dirge? This is one of those urges, but we don't remember doing it, so it's not my fault, all right? We then try to cover it up and go back to sleep, and I'll deal with this in the morning. We are then awoken again by a Starion trying to suck my blood. I mean, if he just asked, I would have said yes, but I let him continue anyway because hopefully I can blame him for killing Alfira. I still get the blame for it anyway, and we kind of just move on, leaving her body there. Drandy is exhausted because of all the murder, so we decide to rest again, and like always, we never get any sleep.
Milord, jubilant day. I have found your vile self at last.
So we now have a butler. I don't know what he is, but I like the idea of having a butler. He also gives us hints to the type of person we used to be.
My, we will be reintroducing necrophilia to your schedule in no time.
But I also got a cool cape out of it, so I like this guy, and he disappears back into the shadows until our inner urges come out again. After all that, we headed through the mountain pass, finding old ruins, an old lady trying to steal the Githyanki egg, and we're also here to find the Githyanki because according to lae'zel, because they can help us not turning into a squid man. But before we find their not so secret hideout, we must kill some drunk kobolds and do some puzzle stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this took me way too long to figure out, and all the fuck we got out was some crest bullshit for another puzzle later on. So Drandy decides to take out his rage on some nearby flying chickens. After all that, turns out the secret base wasn't so secret, and you can just walk through a door. And the first person to greet us is another racist Githyanki. Like, what's wrong with these people? It's because they're born from eggs? So we decide to look around, overhear some conversations, and like always, looking for what has the potential to be stolen. And we also try out our artistic flair on a nearby painting.
Just as you find your flow, you slip.
We then overhear a meeting about them looking for an artifact. Turns out that weird thing Shadowheart's been carrying around is the artifact they're looking for. But I don't plan on telling them anything. So we deceive them once again and find an even more secret hideout, but we'll worry about that later once we get this worm out of our brain. So we tell this lady about our tadpole problem, but instead of dissecting our brain, she hooks us up to this weird sex machine. Inspiration for the win.
Yourself into the tadpole's putrid magic.
This is insane. So after our mind starts to get ripped apart, the tadpole fights back and explodes the machine and may have given us some permanent brain damage. Anyway, let's move on and try and find a way into their inner sanctum. lae'zel comes in clutch and manages to talk her way into meeting the Inquisitor guy, and we go into their secret hideout. And very quickly it turned into chaos because we didn't want to give him the artifact. Hexblade curse. So after we kicked a bit of Githyanki ass for Karlach, literally, we put the Inquisitor to sleep and lae'zel gets the last hit. Then all of a sudden the Githyanki God Queen shows up. Drandy gives her away, but instead of agreeing with her and following her orders to kill the person currently saving us, we find another secret entrance and escape into an underground vault made from the people that built this place. Turns out this is the real treasure they were trying to protect, the great weapon, the blood of Lathander. But instead of being a smart person, Drandy rips it out, causing the place to surge with energy, and now the entire place is about to blow up, including us inside of it. So with only 4 turns to get everyone safe and far away from soon-to-be nuclear explosion, we use all of our skills, from Misty Step to sprinting like hell to get somewhere safe. Unfortunately for us though, Drandy isn't the best at running. That's still part of the rule. So did Drandy Dragon Man survive? Who made it out alive? Well, you're going to have to find out in Act 2 of this epic tale of dumb decisions. But this is not the end of our journey, but just the beginning of something new.